Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Talk segment here at TV-10. I'm Nick Landy. Now, homecoming may have been a week ago, but it's never a bad time to have an Illinois State grad back here at school. First, joining me once again today is Mike Marra. He's the sports editor at the Vidette. Mike, thanks for stopping by once again.
Thanks for having me back.
And our other guest today, you may know him as the sports director and anchor at WMBD and WYZZ-TV in Peoria, but here we just know him as Kurt Pegler, class of 1987. Kurt, welcome back.
It is a pleasure to be back. Thanks for the invitation.
Anytime. Well, let's get right into it. We're going to start with some Illinois State football. A very interesting past week where they upset then fourth-ranked South Dakota to end their two-game losing streak, get themselves right back into the playoff conversation, basically. Now, Kurt, we'll start with you. You were on the call for that game, and ISU just came off a tough loss to Southern Illinois the week before. This team has become really unpredictable. Why do you think that's the case with this team this year?
Well, they came back from back-to-back losses. I mean, that was a huge win for them. I mean, they take out the team that had the number one ranked offense in the league and scoring points left and right. And, I think there was probably some doubt that the Redbirds could bounce back, especially when you looked at their schedule. I mean, they were facing 5 consecutive nationally ranked teams. So for them to get this win was huge, and I think it does bode well for what's next for them. They still have 4 very good opponents up next, that's for sure.
And that next opponent will be Youngstown State on Saturday. Now, Mike, this past week you've had to eat your words a lot. Not only did you and I pick against ISU this past weekend, but you even put out a column saying it was time for the team to hit the panic button and then to come out with this huge win. And this week you came out and said Illinois State will beat Youngstown State. How confident are you with that pick?
I'm pretty confident, and the one thing is that win against South Dakota is such a morale boost, if you will. I mean, you said it best, Kurt. I mean, this is a team that arguably has one of the best passers in the nation in Crest Trebler, and the defense was struggling. And I just didn't see a way that they were going to come out and beat this 4th-ranked team. Arguably, it's the best defense that South Dakota's had in the time that Brock's back has been here. And, I thought there's no way. I thought, they're struggling right now. And they didn't look good the past 2 weeks, so I thought, is this going to be how they're going to finish their season? And they, like you said, they got murderer's row to end the season. So I thought, what, this game is coming at a bad time. But they proved me wrong. They made a believer out of me. I'm pretty confident they go up to Youngstown State and get a victory, especially because Hunter Wells is unhealthy, and so I think that bodes very well, and I think they pick up another W.
We got a great matchup between 2 of the best defenses in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Saturday's game will kick off at 1 p.m. Now we move on to the Fall Classic, the World Series, and we had a great game 2 last night. The Astros edged out the Dodgers to tie the series up at 1 apiece. Mike, it's been a competitive first 2 games in this series. How far do you think this series can go? Do you think this could go the full 7 games?
I think it can go 7. I actually think it's the Dodgers in 7, and it plays out very nicely. I think Clayton Kershaw, you kept his pitch count, very conservative in Game 1. So I think if you need to, you can throw him Game 4 and Game 7, line him up very nice. But the Dodgers, I mean, and of course they beat my beloved Cubs, and so this is, it's hard to watch. But at the same time, they're all year long. I thought they were the best team in baseball. You've got the 2 best teams in the Astros and the Dodgers in the World Series, which doesn't happen very often. But I think the Dodgers are set to go 7, and I think they take it.
Kurt, what about you?
Well, what also doesn't happen very often is you have great games. I think the first 2 games, even if you're not interested in the teams because your team was beaten or you're just kind of a marginal baseball fan, it's the World Series, so you're watching. Great Game 1 in pitching, great Game 2 in drama. I mean, that game last night was terrific, one of the great all-time games, and I agree. I think it's going to go 7 games, and I do like the Dodgers, but this has lived up to everything that we've hoped for in a World Series.
It's been, in my opinion, the most entertaining first 2 games in a World Series we've had in a couple of years, and I think the next few games will live up to that. Game 3 will take place tomorrow night in Houston with first pitch coming just after 7. Now, before we leave, we did have a developing story come up earlier today. Peoria's own Joe Girardi was announced that he will not be returning as the manager of the New York Yankees after managing them for 10 seasons. Kurt, you've gotten to cover Joe personally since he is from Peoria. What do you think his legacy will be with the Yankees as both a player and as manager, and what do you think his future will be?
Well, he's the 6th all-time winningest manager in Yankee history, and that says a lot right there. He's got 900 wins in 10 years, a World Series. Of course, he played for the Yankees too. I think people will think of him as a New York Yankee first, but I think Joe, he's going to find some work. He's 53, so he's still young enough. Somebody out there is going to snatch him up. Where, I'm not sure. I think he could be a good broadcaster if he wanted to do that, but I don't think he's done managing just yet. He's too valuable.
Any idea where you think he'll end up?
I really don't, and I'm not sure where the Yankees are going to go either. But I think someone's going to say Joe Girardi is our guy, whether that's this year or next year. Remember, he sat out a year after the Marlins position didn't work out. He did some broadcasting for a year, then went to the Yankees. That could happen again. He might sit out a year, do some TV.
Mike, any idea where you think Joe will end up?
No, and Kurt, you said it. When you look around Major League Baseball right now, there aren't many glamorous openings, and right now there aren't many openings. I don't know. It kind of took me by surprise when you look at his track record. 6 postseasons, a World Series in 10 seasons. I get you didn't end in the World Series this year, and you lose that Game 7. But it came as a shock to me, and I agree. He's going to find some work.
I can tell you this, whoever picks him up, they're going to become a contender in a few years as long as they get him the right pieces. Well, Kurt, Mike, thank you both for joining me so much. It's been a fantastic time with you both this evening.